latest on this, Marcy.
Guys, in this bizarre story, we're now learning more about the man in this forbidden relationship. Fox 10 has confirmed that the involved inmate, Ramon Cummings, is currently serving time for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, sexual assault, and armed robbery, among other charges. We're told it was a September 3rd tip that led to the investigation of this relationship between inmate and nurse. That's when authorities used law enforcement data to identify LaTanya Hickbottom, a nurse at Correctional Health, as a participant in multiple phone calls to inmate Cummings. After a suspicious conversation between the two, officers performed a cell search and discovered nude photos of Hickbottom in Cummings' possession. Later, she also admitted to posting $100 into a ghost inmate account for Cummings. Maricopa County officials say that there's an extensive background check on each of the nurses hired at the facility, so things like this just don't happen.
She had been put on a secondary probationary period because she had not been able to achieve some of the job standards. So coincidentally, there was a very good chance that she was going to be released from her job anyway. Then all of a sudden these accusations came forth, and it just happened all at the same time. We cannot recollect anything like this happening with a correctional health employee in recent memory. So this is not a common thing.
Hickbottom was booked to the 4th Avenue jail for promoting prison contraband. She's since been released and now faces a felony charge. Reporting live, Marcy Jones, Fox 10 News.
Marcy, thank you for that. 11 inmates at a private prison in Kingman have been indicted following days of mass rioting back in July. And pictures here of that facility afterwards had to be shut down. The Mojave County Attorney's Office says those inmates were the only ones who could be identified. Many of the cameras were quickly damaged when that rioting broke out.
A janitor at Phoenix Middle School accused of spying on young girls in the locker room.
Can you talk about what happened?
No.
What about these charges against you? What do you have to say?
I'm not saying nothing.
Did you do that? Did you spy on these girls?
I'm not saying nothing to the media.
What do you have to say for yourself, though? Those are pretty serious charges.
I'm not saying nothing. Can you please leave?
So Daniel Atkin did not want to talk to us today, but police say the 32-year-old spied on girls through a laundry chute in a storage room at Mountain Sky Middle School. Investigators say he was caught on security camera doing this, and now parents are having some very difficult conversations with their kids.
I talked to her like I would talk to any other adult about it, just be careful of your surroundings and be aware of your surroundings, and if you get a funny feeling, stay with it, because you know that there's probably a reason for it.
Atkin has been fired from the school, and he's facing charges of attempted unlawful viewing.
FBI is asking for your help to find two missing children who they say were kidnapped by their own mother out of Washington State. Sage and Isaac Cook, aged 15 and 9, they're believed to be with 41-year-old
Valley. And after looking at hundreds and hundreds of photos, they finally found.
With that picture, detectives tracked Whiteman to a neighborhood outside Minneapolis and performed a DNA test. Officers.
I don't think there will ever be closure. My dad was ripped out of my life unfairly, but I can say that knowing that this man is behind bars does bring me and my family a bit of peace.
Right now, Whiteman is in Minnesota awaiting extradition.
If they try to contact anybody, that it will lead to a bad situation for their mother.
Keep your son alive. What's wrong?
A Valley mother struggled with the healthcare system and what she believes is holding back.
You access to more than just your flight. What's on your boarding pass that thieves are using to steal personal information, and the step you can take to protect yourself. Plus, the dress of her dreams lost in shipping. With her wedding only days away, the one thing a Valley bride did to make the most out of her very special day coming up.
It's one of dozens of restaurants across San Diego where kids can get a free meal.
Only about a 30 to 45-minute drive for most of you. We're day tripping, taking you to this gorgeous nature preserve.
Tomorrow on
Charming Moorish chestnut.
I had to tell him to cut back on some of the shirtless scenes because I like to eat a Krispy Kreme now and then.
Remember we made Jell-O shots?
Why you gotta tell everybody?
We have 10 finalists here. It's so exciting. You just won a car. What do you think?
Oh, I'm so shocked.
Fox Fox 10 News is brought to you by Nissan. For great offers, shop ChooseNissan.com.
On your mark, get set.
The Kelly File is brought to you by...
Hillary Clinton's private email server from her time as Secretary of State has now expanded to include data from a second tech company. Should Hillary be sweating? Well, look who we've got here to explain it all. It's Fox News senior judicial analyst Judge Andrew Napolitano. Welcome back, Judge.
Good to be with you, Kennedy. I have to tell you that some of Hillary's closest aides, we understand, Fox News has learned, are advising her to hire a Republican criminal defense lawyer in Washington, D.C. Criminal defense lawyer because it is very clear that she is in criminal jeopardy. Republican because they want somebody who can at least talk to Congressman Gowdy and the people on his committee, and Senator Grassley and the people on his committee. But here's where we stand. Six servers.
I mean, that's phenomenal. 2 from her private collection and then 4 from her time as Secretary of State.
Yes, and we have reason to believe that the FBI has discovered either on those servers was the emails surrendered by her friend and colleague Sid Blumenthal, governmental emails that she sent him or that she sent to others who were not in the emails that she surrendered to the State Department.
Now, what kind of jeopardy does that put her in? Because she certified before federal court that she had turned over all of her work-related emails. What does that mean for her?
If she had not kicked dust in, if she had behaved as her predecessors had, I think the court would have accepted there may be a mistake here.
In recipes and meal ideas got me inspired.
Court began to doubt her, and the court is a judge in a Freedom of Information Act case. And she hasn't been charged with a crime yet formally. She hasn't been indicted. She's not a defendant in a case. She's not even a party to the Freedom of Information Act case. It's Judicial Watch versus the State Department. It's Citizens United versus the State Department. There are 2 FOIA cases looking for her emails. One of the federal judges, appointed to the bench by her husband, got so fed up with the State Department and so fed up with her, he...
Fox 10 News is brought to you by Copper Point Mutual Insurance. At work for you. You're watching the best Fox 10 News.
Well, the monsoon technically by the calendar over, but Mother Nature returned with a fury yesterday. Arizona hammered by storms. This was a wash in Buckeye Valley that quickly turned into a raging river, even with some rapids there. And no kidding, it was rolling, and the road became impassable, obviously, stranding many drivers.
And how about that? I mean, that had to be like 100 yards wide, right? But here we are today, and just like that, the water's gone. There's some mud left behind, and crews were out there this morning cleaning up and making repairs to that road, actually making an impact on our state.
A good impact. In fact, the National Weather Service says for the first time in years, Arizona is no longer in a state of extreme drought. That's a change. Christy Siefkin has been looking into it. She joins us with the details tonight. This is great news. Not out of the woods yet, but it's progress.
It is good news, and obviously a very different picture than neighboring states. But here in Arizona, just over a year ago, over 75% of the state was in what's considered severe drought, and now it's just at 3%. Climate expert Mark O'Malley says that we can thank recent winters and recent monsoons for that. And while a strong El Nino should bring plenty of rain and snow, he says that we still have to be mindful of Arizona's water supply. Powerful monsoon storms just like this have had a big impact on Arizona's drought.
The state of Arizona is not doing that bad right now with drought. This is the best we've been since 2010.
Mark O'Malley is a climate expert with the National Weather Service in Phoenix. He says Arizona was in severe drought earlier this decade, but the picture now is much improved.
The past couple monsoon seasons have been very good for us, and that's allowed us to improve our drought condition.
Phoenix now sits at a moderate drought level, and cities like Douglas and Nogales are out of the drought entirely. But O'Malley says several good monsoons aren't enough to protect our water supply.
Phoenix gets a lot of its water from the Salt and Verde Basin and Lake Roosevelt, and that suffered somewhat over the past couple years, where it's only about 50% full right now.
Reservoirs like Lake Mead and Lake Powell are also at pretty low levels, with neighboring states fighting for water off the Colorado River. O'Malley says that unless Colorado and Utah get significant snow in coming years, Arizona's water supply could be at risk.
We are always susceptible to drought. So just because we have rainfall doesn't mean that we shouldn't continue conserving water at a state scale.
Strongest El Nino on record since 1950. Mark says that back in 1997, 1998, that was the last very strong El Nino winter that brought us a whole lot of rain and snow, and that this winter in Arizona is shaping up to look pretty similar. Reporting live, Christy Siefkin, Fox 10 News.
Well, the past 24 hours have brought us quite a bit of rain. How much and where? And is there more out there? We'll take a look coming up.
Well, put aside the curse, forget about the GOAT. Don't bring up the name Steve Bartman. At least for one night, I just did, I guess, huh? The party's on in Chicago, and it got a little testy between the Pirates and the Cubs. But here's the question for you. Is this the year? Talk a little postseason baseball and sports.
Your exclusive Fox 10
Seemed like a constant rotation of names for the Valley's big sporting venues. Talking Stick Resort Arena, previously U.S. Airways Center, started as America West Arena. And we just mentioned Gila River Arena, which was formerly Jobbing.com, and before that, Glendale Arena. Longtime Valley residents remember when Chase Field was Bank One Ballpark or just the Bob. And the University of Phoenix Stadium was briefly named Cardinals Stadium while companies fought for the naming rights in Glendale. And for a while there, it looked like it might be named after a controversial restaurant. I don't remember this, but fortunately fans do not.
On top of all of this, a lot to remember here. All right, you might not have heard of the Page Spring snail. Well, it turns out that tiny snail found in Yavapai County will not be listed under the Endangered Species Act after all. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service says their actions have restored